about Omid, the person whose life was influenced by society to fix his future, but this story, just like other stories, didn't end well. The story starts with Omid, who with his mother and brother left Afghanistan because of the war. They sought refuge in the neighboring country, when Omid was just a few months old. Omid, his mother and his brother wanted to live freely like others, and to build a future for themselves. When their migration had started, Omid was very young and didn't understand much about society, but his mother and brother understood that migration would not be as liberating as it was thought. Years passed and Omid grew up, but not like other children. His mother would work long hours to look after them. But something wasn't right. Omid grew older and wished to go to school like other children, but as time went by, this wish never came true. His mother told him you can't go to school this year, and he'd asked but why? But his mother didn't have a response for him. But she bought him a bicycle instead, so that during school hours, he would ride his bike instead. His mother never stopped trying, and the following year, she sent him to school. Omid knew from his first day at school what was happening. The teachers would tell other students to stay away from Omid, that he was a migrant and shouldn't be your friend. And from the first day of school, then put a chair on its own, in the back of the classroom for Omid to sit in. This had a really negative effect on Omid. Many years passed from that day, and Omid got used to being alone, and going to school became a bitter experience rather than a sweet one. He always wondered why he was not like the other kids at school, and why he didn't have any friends or was always alone. He only had one friend, and that was his bicycle. Whenever Omid felt alone or like an outsider, he would go riding on his bike, because it had a special feeling for him. Time passed and Omid was around 15, 16 years old, when he realized that he was disliked because he was a migrant. But he still kept going, and worked towards a better future. One day after school, Omid went home and found it was empty. He couldn't find his mother or his brother. He stayed alone at home until the next day when they came home. In his mother's hand was a big bag of medication. His mother wouldn't tell him anything. A few months passed and Omid finally found out why his mother was using so much medication. He had realized his mother had cancer and didn't know what the Guthrie held for them. Omid decided that to look after the family he would need to work. But when he went to look for work, he was so negatively judged. Wherever he would go, they would say, "Get out, Afghanistan. This place isn't for you." The bad treatment and racism had really affected Omid. So much so that during his teenage years, Omid suffered so much. His mother would always give him hope, as she was full of hope herself. His mother's illness was getting to a critical stage and couldn't be controlled with medicine anymore. She needed surgery, but when they visited the hospital they were told they wouldn't deal with migrants. They weren't allowed. Omid, his mother and brother couldn't understand why when a person is losing their life, would permission be needed to save it. There was only one reason. Finally, after much persistence, they managed to find a doctor to perform the surgery privately, without the right equipment, for twice and the cost. After that incident, Omid and brother had decided to move back to their own country and to live there, to fight with this disease that is racism. But it didn't take long, that a week after traveling to Afghanistan they were forced to flee again, as there was no place for them and no safety at all. They returned again, but this time their luck had changed and they made a new decision. They chose the expensive life of migration in exchange for the risk of losing their life. They left for another country. After suffering hours of walking and sleeping in a jungle, and passing the sea with a small plastic boat, there was still no happy ending. Now Omid is all alone in one country, while his brother and mother are alone in another country. They are almost always thinking of each other, and they fear not being able to see each other or live together again. Their whole life turned out to be like this for only one reason. Let's not judge each other based on nationality, race, color, or anything else that makes us different to others, so that life can be better and better.